Hey, how's it going? So, I'm going to read you some cards. Here, look at my signs because I also want to talk about a series that I saw, The Fall of the House of Usher. Oh, just because I said fall didn't mean I wanted something to. Now, can you just sit there? Ooh, that's kind of teetery. Okay. So, I will put in the trailer, but I want to talk about the fall of Usher. Also, I want to talk about, I took off a few days. See, I have to address that first, I think, because, I suppose I didn't know I was going to take that many days off. I figured I'd take Christmas Eve and Christmas, because everybody else did. I did release a couple of videos before I went away, but I gotta tell you, I do not like the holiday season. My birthday's in there also too, and it just, for years and years and years, it just wasn't anything really to talk about. There were some years where I got to spend like the Thanksgiving through, just holidays with a friend's family, but I don't get to do that anymore. So I have not had the holidays in, like, with, companions or family in, I don't know, like 6-7 years now. I think maybe more even. And I couldn't spend like the time with my person because previous engagements, and it's like, darn it. So, it wasn't like I couldn't talk to him, but just couldn't be in the same place. So I was not happy about that. I was really annoyed, actually. And but I just like cracked open and like just was purging like crazy, like just racked with like sobs and like, oh my god, what happened? So, I guess it was productive. That took a little while, like, to where I felt like I could talk to anyone again. And also, this show, The Fall of the House of Usher, it's a Netflix original, that messed me up too. But mainly because the people, it did and it didn't, because there's a thing that factors into my choice of what I'm gonna watch, and it depends, like anybody else. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in, but sometimes, a lot of times, I like to watch something that I feel like, man, their life is way more screwed up than mine. Not that mine is bad. I really, I have so much less to complain about than many people. I have little to complain about. I still find a way, but it's not real. I have like, stuff is good. I can't complain. So, The Fall of Usher. I was thinking it was a Shakespeare thing. I tried to look that up, but it wasn't. There was several references to Shakespeare in it. I just have never really done the Shakespeare. I didn't want to read like the translations, the layman Shakespeare, because I felt like I would be missing something. But when I tried to read like the Shakespeare, the version of English was just incomprehensible. Of course, I was like 12, so I should probably try again. But it really put me off. So I just haven't like gone back to it, and I guess it just made me not want to approach like the rest of the Shakespeare stuff. Although, of course, Romeo and Juliet, you have to have done it in school. Although these days, I don't know, those were young kids and they were like getting it on and gonna be married and all of that, and I don't know if that's gonna fly in these puritanical days, but I already did it, so I don't have to worry about it. And I think I also read in school A Midsummer's Night Dream, but I do not remember that at all. I just remember that, well, I was going to say, I remember that it was like a altered state sounding kind of thing. And I vaguely remember that, like, the people in the story got all hammered on something and got into altered states or something like that. I guess I need to read it. You can see how enthused I am to do that. But, it's not a Shakespeare story, I guess. I guess you could also compare it to that show Succession, but I never saw that, so I only have a vague idea of what's going on there. From what I understand, it's like a Trump family type situation, or what are the Fox Murdoch family, wealthy American family, and their business is media. So in the Succession show, I don't really know. Like I said, I didn't watch it, so I don't really know much about it other than that. But apparently, it's like the House of Usher, the fall of the House of Usher, and it's interesting because it hits upon a lot of the themes that are kind of pertinent right now, like deviant rich people, like just degenerate without morals, and the people in the fall of the House of Usher, I'm sure in some ways mirror people that wealthy, but I mean, these days I feel like we're getting a good look at those people for real, like the Trump family out there and showing their butts. I guess that's what the kids are saying, except all the kids I see saying it are really old, like older than me, but yeah, showing their butts. So and I guess I don't disagree, because what I'm seeing is a bunch of them have degrees and stuff, and they went to school, but they didn't really go. They went to school like one of those mafia, like, no-show jobs. Like, no-show classes. Or, like, I guess they'd show up to hang around and party and make the scene or whatever, but it sounds like people didn't do their own work very much. Like, they'd contract that out, and I have a pan of water that I like to keep going on the stove with, like, herbs and stuff in it because it smells good, but it boils down so fast, and whatever. I'll figure it out. Anyway, it's just that thing where, like, nobody tells these people no, really, because they have all this money, which means they have all this power, which means they can, like, exert it on people and manipulate them, which is totally a thing. We all know that. Don't even have to be rich for that to happen. It's just how we do. But it's worse if you have more money than the people that you're dealing with, because that immediately makes you subordinate in, like, every way, because capitalism. But what I'm finding out is that, like, once you get to know them, like, the people that you grow up thinking, like, oh, don't look, rude or rubish or embarrassing in front of the rich people, and then come to find out the rich people are terrible. They're worse than the normie people. But they're against the normies, boy, that's like, ooh, no. And this whole, okay, I don't want to get into the card thing yet. So anyway, and in every way, these people display that, like, every kind of bad rich behavior trope, they got it in there. But the people, the Ushers, actually, like, there's like a head of the fall of Usher, but he's like the older brother with his twin sister. They're the first ones, and they come from a really messed up background. Like, I'm not sure. I think, well, the father was gone. I think he had a drinking problem or something. I think the mom had, like, schizophrenia. some kind of hardcore mental illness. I believe that was it, but could be wrong. But I'm right about the fact that she had hardcore mental illness, and she would just like, I didn't really hear her have religious mania, but it was that level of like freak out kind of behavior. And she was like a mean one too, like just yelly, screechy, aggressive, and well, you know how a crazy movie crazy person acts, or TV crazy person acts, like more aggressive than the genuine article. But it's a whatever, it's a drama, so you get the drums. Anyway, so they have this really terrible upbringing, and it turns out that they're like the bastards of like the big wig in town, and he's a complete shithead. He wants nothing to do with them, and he just like threw aside their mother like she was nothing, but she also like was his secretary for decades and decades. And I believe they said she cracked because there's like family mental illness, but also this boss slash father guy was just horrible to her and just like mentally screwed with her. And every time you hear him talk about her, he has nothing at all nice to say. And that's a nice way of saying what he has to say. And it's a pair of Usher, the guy that ends up being the head of the head of the family and house of Usher, so his house, but I guess like their clan sort of. So but he has a twin sister, so they each have a distinct personality, and the head of the house of Usher, Roderick Usher, is played by Bruce Greenwood. And when they have him old, I mean, he's older now. He's probably like 6 or 7 years older than me, and I just turned 60, so he's older. Like, you can tell he's older. But the makeup they put him in, I was like, who is that? I couldn't recognize him at all. And I had looked at the cast list before I started, but it was like before I started playing the actual show, so I didn't get to look at it very long. Anyway, he's on there and he's talking away, and I'm going, who is that? And he sounds, to my ear, exactly like Titus Welliver. So I'm looking at him going, but that's not Titus Welliver. It was very confusing. And all through the whole show, I was like, because it was the same voice narrating, and I was like, well, wait, is it a different person? And it's just like Titus Welliver narrating like all of the voices, or it wasn't. It just sounds a lot like him. I really like Titus Welliver, in case you can't tell. Isn't it just fun to say Titus Welliver? Titus Welliver, Titus Welliver. Oh, and the sister, the Usher sister, the twin, Madeleine Usher, is played by Mary McDonnell. I always remember her, of course, from, well, I shouldn't say of course, because I'm old, but Dances with Wolves, which was the first time I saw her. She had been in lots of other things, but shoot, I think that came out in like 90 or 91. So I wasn't like a 3-year-old, but I was young, and I wasn't paying as close attention to like who did what when as far as the actors go as I do now. I'd never heard of her then. And then she's been in, why didn't I look? I could have just looked before I started. And before I started, I was like, okay, you wrote a bunch of stuff down. Are you sure you don't need anything else? No, I'm good. Just start. And turns out I need something else. So, she's in this. She's in other stuff in between. Owie, kazowie. Yeah, my shoulder still hurts. I haven't been out in like a week, but you know what? I think this happens every year. Like, I'm just kind of putting it together. Over the summer, I would just get out there and try to exercise, and then I will injure myself over the course of doing that, and hold on. link other work. And then, but see, what I learned this summer was that I kept doing that, like just maxing out and then having to completely stop. And it got so bad that I had to stop. I ended up having to stop for like almost a month, like 3 weeks. It seemed like a long time. And, but by the time I went back, nothing hurt. So that's the difference, is like going back when stuff kind of hurts and like waiting until you heal. But if I wait too long, weather goes away. Good weather. Like now, it's fine, kind of. Like I don't feel fine having been stuck in here for so long, but it's been raining. And not, sometimes it's been like a downpour, but mostly it does what it does in a typical day here, which is go from sprinkle to one drip in, every 20 minutes. It's variable, but it usually isn't that bad. So I could have gone out, but I don't, like I've said before, I don't like to go out on my trike when it's wet out, because I didn't have lube when I assembled it, and I really need to take it apart and get some lube in there. So yeah, that is also a reason why I haven't been out, but mainly it's the shoulder. So I think this might be week 3, or no, it might be week 2. I don't know, but it still really hurts. What I did something, like it was feeling okay, I think over the weekend, like Sunday, and it was feeling fine, and then I like went to shake out a trash bag, I think, and like how they all are all stuck together until you fill them with air, and I shook it, and just my shoulders like, no, just here, let me just give you some pain. And it did that. It felt like a blade went in and went, so yeah, I thought I might go out today or yesterday, but no, because when that happened on Sunday, it just like reactivated injury or something. You've seen, all I have to do is like lift up my arm normal, and it completely just like, it acts like I was like I threw a spiral or something. I didn't do that. So yeah, I've been in the house. Makes me a little cuckoo. But it is the time of year for it. I mean, it is. There's no better place or time really to like snuggle up in your chair or wherever with your blanket and your animal and drink warm drinks and read books and watch shows, and if you have time for that kind of thing. So yeah. Verna is a character, and Verna is like a ghost. She or a hallucination, but it's like only the older 2 ushers see her really. His first kids, I think, Roddy's first kids, Frederick and what's the girl's name? Camille. I think Camille's his sister. No, Camille's not his sister. Wait, hold on. What's her name? Tamerlane. So, those 2 are Roderick's first kids. He's got more. I think 8 more, something like that. I'll get to them. But these 2 are like original blood, because everyone else is like a half or a stepchild. And of course, those are contenders for will money. So, there's a hierarchy, or a lowerarchy, I'd call it, because they're such awful people, but they're all like just ruthless to each other about this will that like the dude's not dying. He's like the last one to die, and they're so like salivating for that will money, that inheritance. And it's funny because it's not funny. It's not a funny story. There's very few laughs. It's pretty grim and pretty disturbing. But this guy, Roderick, and his sister end up talking to this Verna lady very early on, before they have like made their corporation and made all of their money, and she's like the tech person and he's the business person, I guess you could call him, opportunist. And so she is mostly, for years in the story, because it goes over the course of years, and she's mostly like in the background, but she's like the woman behind the curtain. She's as much of the brains of the whole operation as Roderick is, because they're very close and they run that business together. So the two of them will do anything to get ahead, and they do anything. They end up having a pharmaceutical company, and so then they seem like the Sattlers, yet another wealthy American family. And they are famous for, among other things, OxyContin, that has screwed up so many people in this country. And they do their dangdest to not be responsible for having done it, for having lied about whether or not it's addictive and all these things. Same, like exactly the same as OxyContin, or sorry, as the Sattler family with their opiate horribleness. And but you wanted it, you have pain, so you deserve it. It's like, people don't deserve to die like that, though. And it's, well, I think we're all pretty well versed on what opiates do. Like, once you take them and they start taking over you, there's a course that happens, and either you go like the bad way, where you become like a thief. And I gotta tell you, I grew up around a lot of heroin people, and very many of them have this quality. Like, the majority of them that I notice, once they like take it and like get addicted to it, they really quickly stop caring about anything. Like, only thing that matters is if it makes them happy. And it's like, they can have friends and hang out, and they'll even share stuff. They might even share their drugs with you sometimes, but they're that's not a generous condition, let's put it that way, because it does end up being all about yourself, and gradually you stop caring about everything and everyone, and that's got you sneaking around and not saying what's real. And people that are not on the drugs, really, like, they can look at you and they can hear the stories, but they like, it's really to be experienced, to be understood. Like, I didn't get like that far into it, but I did end up taking a lot of opiates myself before I moved from California to where I am now, because in California they would not give me pain medication. And when I moved where I am now, my oncologist was like, "Oh my God, do you have pain medication?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "What?" So that was nice, because I don't want to get all into the story of how I had to like deal with major pain in a place where I could not get like pharmaceutical prescriptions for anything. You do what you have to do. And I had to go to work, so I had to like be able to bear the pain, or like have a like a way to like conk out when I came home. It's a lot. So anyway, you know, particularly Roderick is like, I've seen the Sattler guy. I don't know, he's a brother, I know that, I've heard of him, so I'm not sure where he is in the Sattler tier of people, but he was out and running his mouth a lot, I know that, the Sattler guy. So that's what this guy is like, and that was his deal. He's like, well, nobody told him to get all addicted, but nobody told him it could get you all addicted. So yeah, I'm repeating myself, but I just want to underline that. So the son, Frederick, is played by Henry Thomas, who again, I didn't look up his filmography, but yes, he was in E.T. a million years ago, and I've seen him in a bunch of other stuff, like maybe Fargo or something like that. He didn't like just go away when he was a child. For a while he did, but he came back, I guess, after he finished school. And he's been in some actually really good stuff lots of stuff. And you think I can think of any of it? No. So I gotta link some stuff of his too. Link. But anyway, in this he he has like a dork knob little tiny ponytail, and he's one of those kids like a Don Jr. actually. He wants to like have his dad's approval so much, and his dad's like, he likes him okay, but he definitely has his preferences amongst the children and grandchildren. There's grandchildren or grandchild? Well, there's at least one, and he's way into her, and everybody else, and it's understandable because there are really kind of a pack of savages, just like out of control. They don't do well if people don't obey them, basically. And if they can't have their way in a situation where it's not like they're not the authority, then they just act like giant babies and have a giant spaz and scream and yell and threaten, and it's bad because an adult can make actual threats. So you're just sitting there going, wow, you're a lot. And Tamerlane gets herself, the sister. Wait, I'm not through talking about Freddie, played by Henry Thomas. So he's got the dork knob. He's like super insecure for dad's approval. And he's the oldest, but he's not like good at stuff because he's basically a soft guy, I'm not gonna say nice, but he's like the one that everybody, even though he's the oldest of the children, he's the one that everybody kind of like beats up and ridicules behind his back and in front of his face because he's such a kiss ass to the father. And then later his personality takes a turn, and then he starts using a personality changing drug and turns into a real, like, all of the latent bitterness and insecurity that this guy had inside of him about everybody and everything around him, except for his wife, which he put on the pedestal, and also his daughter. Yeah, I mean, the guy was just like constantly running around trying to please people and just dying, like, So he turns into like the rest of his family. Those monster traits come out, and boy, he's got them. He's got some hidden stuff nobody was expecting in there. And then the drugs, which were coke. Oh, sorry, I guess I'm not supposed to say that. I don't know. Well, anyway, the stimulant made from the coca plant, he started like immediately super abusing. He went from never to always. So, and that's never good. That's never a good transition. Well, especially when you're like endless money, you can just keep it coming, and it makes you not a good person. It makes the people around you, because of you, not a good person. And they may be either sharing your stimulant or have some other altering substance of their own that they continually abuse. But it was the big C usually, because that's like the power and money substance. Everyone knows it. And it turned him into a terrible abuser. And then he's got a sister named Tamerlane. She stresses herself out uselessly, I think. Like, I don't know why she's so wound up about what she's got going on, because it doesn't seem like she really has that much going on. Like, she delegates like most of the work. but it's a power thing. And so she's got like a weird sex thing, of course, so you get to see all about that. And then there's another child, a sister, half sister, I think. This one's black, and she's British, because all these people I've been talking about are American. And so the other kids that he had, like, he has them, I guess when he was younger, they say that he didn't, like, use the condom. They had some term, but I can't remember what it is right now. But, like, he just, like, couldn't keep it in his pants with the stewardesses, is what one of them said about one of her siblings. And so this one, like I said, she's black and she's British. Oh, so the kids grow up, and then at a certain age, he starts paying attention to them, giving them money and helping them, or they come live with him. I don't know. It depends on the situation. So this one has like some kind of medical career. She's not a doctor. She's with a woman who's a doctor, and God, did I put her on here? Yeah, I guess I did. Dr. Ruiz, and that's her girlfriend or wife or something. And so Ruiz is a heart or cardiologist, and Victorine wants to do some kind of heart helping machine thing. I don't know the word, but she's like all sicko with the experimenting on the primates. So much so that like her staff and her family have a rumor where they ridicule her about walking out of the facility late at night with chopped up pieces of baboon parts in her Birkin bag. These people tell you they are not nice. So, I mean, I could go on. There's a whole gang of them. They got all kinds of messed up stuff wrong with them. But I want to mention that Mark Hamill is also in it. And he plays their lawyer, Arthur Pym. And isn't Arthur Pym the name of the Pym in Ant-Man that's played by Michael Douglas? You guys, movie people, you got to pay attention to your colleagues, because otherwise people start getting either stuff confused or deliberately winding it all together like I like to do. But that makes it confusing to talk about to other people, because they're not, they're not there for it. They don't know what happened. But Mark Hamill plays their lawyer, and so Arthur Pym, loyal, grim, ruthless, mad. And the thing, he looks like Mark Hamill. He's got very short hair and glasses. And at first I was like, is that Mark Hamill? Because he's like a pretty up there star part in it, but he's not constantly in it. And so at first you just saw him kind of off to the side, kind of 3/4 turned away, and you're like, is that Mark Hamill? It was. It is. And so here's the thing that was so distracting. He's perfectly terrible in it, by the way. Like all of Trump's close associates, like very loyal to the guy no matter what. But he sounded, his voice that he's doing for this, if you've ever seen The Regular Show, he sounds like Skips. The Regular Show is a cartoon from the Cartoon Network. And there's a character, you have to see it, but his name is Skips, and he sounds like, well, it's Mark Hamill that does it in the cartoon, so that's the voice he uses. So that was kind of weird, because I'm like, this guy's totally evil, and Skips is completely the opposite of that. Just interesting. And Carl Lumley is in it as well. He's passed away. But it's funny, because I had watched this a couple of weeks ago, and I just wanted to let it sink in, because I knew I wanted to talk about it. And I told my person, I was all, yeah, I watched this other movie over the past couple of days called Obliterator, a series rather, also from Netflix. And one thing about it is it also had Carl Lumbly. And so it has like Carl Lumbly's like a star that you'd know, and then also who was the other guy? C. Thomas Howell. And he is also someone from like when I was probably 11, 12, 13, he was in these movies like The Outsiders and I can't remember the other one, but they were adaptations of S.E. Hinton novels, which I also read when I was that age. And so, you know, when I talked about like Kevin Bacon and Ethan Hawke being like actors from my sort of childhood, this is another one with C. Thomas Howell, and then like it would be also Matt Dillon, Patrick Swayze, Tom Cruise actually from that time too. So so I was telling my person, yeah, Carl Lumbly's in this other show, Obliterated, too. And also, but you know, Carl Lumbly just passed away. But C. Thomas Howell's in it, too. He only looks like he passed away. He's still alive. So, yeah. I may go back and forth between the cards on this, but I pulled a card from the Shaman's Dream Oracle, number 34, and it's Lay of the Land. And I'm going to read from the book because it was really working for me today. So the subtitle here is Lay of the Land, Past Lessons, Being Well-Informed, Ancestral Wisdom. There are times when you're meant to discover and explore new terrain in your life, even to be a part of a wave of change. This is one of those times. Boy, is it ever. And what you're contemplating is perhaps new to you, but others have laid well-worn paths and left wisdom for you to rely and reflect upon. Okay, I was chuckling because what you're contemplating is perhaps new to you. It just made me think of January 6th because none of us have ever stormed our Capitol before, and they were still like throbbing from that, you know. And they became a part of a wave of change. They were a wave of change. Or I don't know. Never mind. It wasn't a huge wave. That's all I want to say. So this is one of those times when you're contemplating, and what you're contemplating is perhaps new to you, but others have laid well-worn paths and left wisdom for you to rely and reflect on. Well, we have that maxim, you know, if we repeat the past, if we don't learn from the past, we're doomed to repeat it. I feel like we're in that moment right now of the, well, we're going to see if we learn anything. That is so, yeah, others have laid well-worn paths, but are we even looking at that? Kind of not really. And I wonder if it's always like this when there's like a big moment where lots of political and social stuff is happening and unrest. Is it always that, like, oh my goodness, this has never happened before? Like, does no one look at history? Is what I'm saying. Because it's there's tons of it, and it's really, like, it can be instructive because we do the same things. We just, like, have a different guy with a different shirt or slogan or whatever. So, but there, you know, there are sensible ways to behave and paths to go down where we're not aggressive in trying to tear down our government. And I feel like the reason why that's happening, none of it is what people are saying, the ones that are saying it and doing it. I don't think none of it is what they think it is, because they don't want to believe anything bad of Mr. Trump, their leader. But they're going to learn. they also think our enemies are not our enemies, and they think that authoritarianism will be good. But ask those Germans after World War II if they were glad they didn't have to be Nazis anymore, like the ones that weren't Nazis. See if they, like, I don't think they particularly, like, once they kind of came to their senses, because it was like a folie à deux times a million, times a couple of million. Like, everybody just got swept up into this thing, and it went from, like, people saying, whoa, are you sure, like, trying to talk sense, are you sure that's a good time to do that, to becoming like, shut up, we don't want to hear what you want to say. We know what we're doing. And it's like, if you knew what you were doing, you would stop. But I feel like every so often, because we're very cyclical as a species, we got to go through it, because we just forget. We don't look at the history and get caught up in stuff that's, I don't know. Moments can be dangerous. Get all caught up in them. Next thing you know, you're in QAnon and doing illegal stuff and trying to change the law so that it's not legal. No, I don't want to do stuff that way. And that's how we've always done things. And how's that working for us? Country's all divided. We're split in half. Some people, one side is saying, I think we're going to have a civil war. Yeah, I really believe we are. And they're also saying, I think the other side is saying that too. And I don't think the other side is saying that. I think they're saying, God, I hope we don't have a civil war. So, I mean, we got to build up our propagandas, I guess. This is a wonderful time to seek a mentor or good advice from an expert or elder. Well, if we can hear them. That way, you will be able to meet life's opportunities and challenges well informed. Got nothing against that. Knowing you have a map, now you can be curious about what else is here. This is a path that promises success in all areas where others before you have dared to tread. You will discover the treasure they have left behind for you to make your own. Well, that must be some kind of euphemism, because nobody leaves treasure behind for other people. Sorry. This is a path that promises success in all areas. Where others before you have dared to tread, you will discover the treasure they have left behind for you to make your own. Well, I don't want that in that order. I mean, I guess the well-worn path is always there, but like I said, are we going to listen to the expert and the elder, or are we going to consult history to know that, like, well, here is a path, and it is worn, but is it the one we should take? I guess that remains to be seen at this point, because lots of people are kind of movement curious, I guess you could say. Yeah, but I think it's a good idea to, definitely see what the old people have to say, because they know stuff that we don't. And if you think that's not true, I would just say that if you are 45, 50, and you watch TikTok and you see all these hacks that people are like, oh, found this out, figured this out. I was today stupid years old when I learned this. Yeah, everybody before you also already learned it. It's not a hack. You just learned something. That kills me. I think that's so funny. But here's all the choices there on the ground. And it looks like wherever it's like well trodden, safe to walk, but I don't think you can be complacent, because that's a way to, I don't know, have your head in the clouds and not see that you walk into a literal pit. A pitfall, except Pitfall, the word I believe refers to, I think it's Ponji pit, where there's like a hole, and this I guess was in Vietnam or Japan, World War II or Vietnam War, where our soldiers discovered that, you know, they'll cover them with what looks like fallen brush or foliage, and it'll be a hole with sharpened sticks like poking up out of it. You know, a stab you pit. not a good thing. Why was I talking about that? Oh, right. I mean, if everybody's just walking there and it's that obvious, then it's probably the safe way to go. Probably not going to fall into any pitfalls. Probably not going to pitfall. Okay, so the buffalo. Well, I had some impression about this when I pulled it, but let me read what the book says first. Buffalo, grounded yet heavenly, practical yet spiritual. The hooves of the mighty buffalo are grounded in the earth, yet its heart and mind rise toward heaven. The buffalo sees challenge, hardship, or a bump in the road as an opportunity for upliftment. Therefore, the buffalo does not fear death, illness, or misfortune. Its gentle eyes look to the road ahead, trusting every turn. We may all experience this elusive yet life-changing bliss from time to time, and we may allow this card to remind us that life is a precious gift. When in balance, trusting, pure presence. When out of balance, restless, lacks gratitude. To bring into balance, prayer, bhakti. So, I looked at this and, you know, I definitely thought of, like, how I was feeling over the weekend where, well, it's just kind of like you're just there and stuff's going on around you, but it doesn't really have anything to do with you personally, and that's what it's like in the holidays. But it's kind of like this dude here, just... I've talked about this before. Like, this is an animal that in the wild just lives outside. It might have something to stand under that could shade it from, like, intense sunlight, or, I don't know, protect it from rain if it doesn't want to get totally wet. Although, you know, I think it would take a lot of water force. I mean, I feel like they could stand for a while before the water would penetrate their fur, because it was supposed to have been super dense. And, you know, it starts raining and thunder and lightning. What are you gonna do? I don't know. Like, I've never been around a herd of stuff, so do they run from it when it suddenly cracks like that, or maybe hits the ground and blows it up and is all percussive right next to them or within their sight? I don't know, but, you know, either way, it doesn't really matter, because where are they gonna go? You know, they're just outside, so you gotta kind of, like, come to terms with your reality. And then it made me think of, like, there's so much, like, clashing and going on, and, like, you know, your opinion matters, like, almost to the death with some people. Or, you know, you drive the wrong way in your car, next thing you know, some psycho's following you, waiting to kill you or scream at you at least. And it's kind of like the way I was feeling this over the holidays, like, that kind of happens like every year to get kind of low. But I was thinking about how, like, I didn't want to stay in that energy. Like, I was really constantly, like, making adjustments. Like, okay, you're starting to slide into that, like, bummer feeling. Like, you guys, like, make a smile. Like, even if you don't feel like smiling, just smile anyway and just keep doing it, because that actually works. If you just keep smiling, you know. Telling you. The only way you'll know is if you try it yourself, though. And so it just was kind of like trying to keep this calm energy and unperturbed by people and the stuff going on around, like even before Christmas, just and after, like the condition in the United States is like just general distrustfulness that you see broadcast. But what I see when I go out is not that. I don't live where people are going out and doing protests, and I actually think I live in Trump country, but it's been fine. Like, no one's bothered me about it. I never talk about it. Occasionally I'll see someone like at Walmart and they'll have like major stickers on their car, and they'll have on like the hat and the shirt, and my God, get a cape too, why don't you? But well, and that's not like the left and the right clashing. Like, I literally don't see that around me, and I'm so happy because that sounds awful. But still, it's out there, and part of what I think works against it and works for us is to stay calm in the midst of it, and that's a hard thing for me, like to not have my temper go flying up with my blood pressure. But it's a process. I'm getting there, and it's probably something we all need to learn how to do, like get a thicker skin, thank you, to be able to deal with all of this stuff. Because really, the people that are so angry when they want to fight with you and they just are so out of control, they want to interact with you and they think they want to fight with you, and I'm sure that's what it feels like. But I think the way we work with our feelings, like when we're angry, it doesn't always necessarily mean that something happened that made us mad. Like, other feelings will manifest as anger a lot of times. And so it's like you gotta sit there like this buffalo and just be all calm and let the lightning crack, because it goes away pretty fast, And I think maybe, like, with the Karens, we need to have a bit of a thicker skin. Or maybe the Karens need to have a thicker skin. Or it would probably benefit all of us if we could stop being so extra sensitive about our stuff, dang it. So, yeah, trying to keep calm where there's all that storm and lightning and oh, I don't want to even say that, just commotion going on out there. And what I realized this weekend, also, like, I wasn't, for my own stuff, like, really that depressed, but I was feeling, oh my gosh, so just like all these emotions, like hardcore, and it was up and down and happy and sad and like, oh my God, it was like I knew it wasn't me, and it's been happening to me for a long time, but I didn't know there was a word for it. I didn't know it was a thing. Because I can remember going places, like going to parties, or like living in this one place with a bunch of other people where there'd often be a party, and sometimes there would be someone there that I knew. Well, I usually knew who was there, but like maybe someone that was, like one time I brought in a friend from outside the group, and she was just real fucked up. She was really impaired on substances, like really bad, and I was not like her, but I had like another substance that I had taken. So she was like turning into mush, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to deal with this. Oh my God, this girl and all these guys. Like, I couldn't even say, I still can't really say it. It was just crazy. And then this one one of the guys just kept saying gelatinous and spelling gelatinous, and I was like, please stop. I wanted to go to sleep, and I felt like I couldn't leave her alone with them. And then I went to sleep finally, because she went to sleep and they all like left. I hoped, and when I woke up in the morning, she was gone. So I think it was probably months and months before I saw her again. So I just wasn't sure what happened, and no one had seen her leave. So yeah, or just like I've talked about this before, like going into a room and you can immediately feel like it's a happy room or someone died room. And so, like, yeah, empath, I guess. But wow, Christmas, like, I don't know that I have been conscious of it and just left the flap open for all this everybody else's stuff to come in. But I was definitely purging, and I wasn't sure if it was like my stuff that triggered it or if like other stuff triggered it. It just all kind of blended together, and it was I don't know, it was like powerful. It like made me feel a little hollowed out. But I did try to keep this state of mind in mind, because it looks, I mean, if you think of what these poor things have been through, I just thought of the one that gored the lady that got too close to take I don't know if she wanted to take a selfie or a picture, but I don't know. I feel like just stay away from something as big as a Volkswagen that can gore you. What's wrong with you, Dodo? Sorry, I shouldn't call names, but that was dumb. So, good luck to us all to keep this, because the holidays are over. We don't have to be all over each other like that way anymore. Like, it's funny, like, do we like it or not? Because there's so many stories that start out both that way. Like, yeah, I gotta spend time with my family. Oh my God, gotta spend time with my family for the holidays. Oh, the arguing. I should be so fortunate or so glad that I was fortunate enough to have a family where if those conversations were happening, it wasn't around me, like they talked about, like, where have you been? What have you been up to? Football, whose kids in school, whose kids in jail, like that kind of thing. Family stuff. Thank you, and good night. Oh, wait, am I done? Yeah, I think I'm done. Try to keep it together, people, before we fall apart. Thank you, and good night.